Well, David, I don't know about you, man, but I'm really excited to get this started. This is our first podcast together.
Yeah, I'm pumped.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun and exciting. It's funny because I was sitting here thinking about it this morning and I'm like going, what is this all about? What are we really trying to do here with this? It's not just the excitement of being able to do it with one another, a father and
Sure.
his son type thing, but really it's, we're at such a critical time, or I think a pivotal time in our world. And I know we're saying that, and it gets, I think it's said all the time because of the pandemic and because of everything. But I think, in any crisis moment, um, you're either hopeful or you're hopeless, you know?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And I think we've all gone through it, right? I think there's times that I felt hopeless,
Mm.
and I thought that, the idea of what is our hope built on, is, while you and I both having faith backgrounds and knowing
Right.
where our hope lies, not necessarily does everybody have that same anchor, if you will, of hope. And so, David, I was just thinking, to myself, even though personally, and without going into your personal story or testimony, though, when you think of the word hope, what's the first thing that you think of?
Well, I mean, I think for me, like you said, having a faith background, I think my hope is in Jesus. So when I think of hope, that's someone that I can lean on. That's something I can lean on. So no matter what situation I may be in, now granted, it's not always the easiest when I'm in a situation or a tough situation, but I always know in my heart that my hope is in Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly believe that having that hope in him, he will get me through whatever it is I'm going through.
Yeah. So you think that people that are going to listen to this are going to start to say, "Oh, this is just a Jesus podcast, and these are a bunch of Jesus freaks"? What do you think?
Honestly, I think my heart in this is, yeah, I mean, more than anything, I'd hope that you'd take away that, we do love Jesus and we are very passionate about Jesus and the name of Jesus because we do believe in the power of his name. However, I think we'd like to create this in a way and steer it in a way that doesn't turn people off because, oh, they're a bunch of Jesus freaks. I hope it doesn't come off like that. I hope you understand that we are Jesus freaks, but not take it as a way that we're trying to push you away. And hopefully, I mean, I think you're on the same page as me as far as like the prayer for this is that everybody could be involved and engaged in something like this because you're going to hear stories and you're going to hear um, real people's stories and real people's testimonies. Maybe somebody who's not a super Jesus freak, maybe they have hope in something else.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that would be my hope and prayer is that all would come and could hear.
Yeah. And I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that we're not just trying to explore this from the perspective of where our hope lies, and I'm not trying to push or persuade my hope on you, but at the end of the day, as I'd love to hear where your hope lies too, really, what is your hope anchored in? And again, the whole idea of this podcast, my hope is built on, well, what is your hope built on then? And when you start to look at that, you ask them, the questions we're going to really want to know from them is, again, where do you find your anchoring? And I think that's a kind of a critical distinction too, because when I start to look at hope, one of the things is I could hope that the paycheck is in the mail, right? I hope that I'm going to get that job, or I hope that she's going to say yes when I propose. There's those types of hopes, right? Which
Yeah.
is kind of like that level of optimism, if you will, or being optimistic is kind of maybe a way of looking at it. But then there's that other kind of hope that says, no, wait a minute, this is what I'm kind of anchored to, so that when a storm comes, or when a crisis comes, or when something hits me, I actually can hold anchor to that, and I'm not going to be pulled away from it.
Yeah.
And I think what will hope out of this thing is that when a hopeless situation comes, is that people will be able to find, hey, listen, I listened to a story and this is how they found their anchor,
Yeah.
you know? And because we're like I said, during crisis situations, and there's crisis all over around us. It's not even just a pandemic anymore. I mean, as you and I are talking about this, we've got
Yeah.
diversity issues that are going on around our country right now, and heavy conversations that are being had, and and people on all sides of the fence. I mean, and division and divisive behavior. I mean, it's in hatred. I mean, some crazy stuff, and so you start to say, where's those anchors, or where's your hope anchored at this point in time?
Yeah.
I don't know and I don't want to take all of that, David. I just, I get very passionate about this, and so I had to
Well, I'm
share
right there with you. I mean, I
that.
think, I mean, we have been going through a crazy time, to say the least. And there's some people that have felt the effects of it a lot more than
Mm,
others. Um, you were saying some stuff about, uh, hard conversations that are being had, or maybe aren't being had, that actually need to be talked about. And maybe that might be a place on this podcast too, that um, you'll hear people going through uh, things that are big topics in this life: diversity issues, social justice, things of that nature. I mean, I hope that conversations come up, and how can we help be there for them, or just being an ear to listen too. I
yeah.
want to learn as well.
Yeah, no, I get it. I think one of the, our tagline for this whole thing is really, real people, real stories, real hope, right?
Yeah.
And so this is not going to be a podcast where you got a bunch of celebrities coming on here telling you how they got. They're celebrities in their own right, because of who
Yeah.
they are, because of their identity, and because of the story that they have to tell. And so we're going to be introducing you to some new celebrities, if you will, on this
Yeah.
show. And like we said, they'll be from a variety of walks of life.
Mm.
But David, again, when we look at this stuff, even with, uh, as we're talking about it, I'm hopeful that our country can change, right? I'm hopeful that
Oh,
people
absolutely.
can go through this thing. But the one thing that I'm more hopeful for is that people will really begin to do self-reflection, and start to look at themselves in this process, because I think
Mm.
that that's really where the change that we're all looking for in this world begins to start. It's an introspective space. It's looking internally and starting to say, what values can I change? What values can I bring to the table to really change this? But then I need to be anchored to something. I got to have, my hope has to be anchored in something. And for some people, it may be in our government. For some people, it might be in their families. That might be where their hope lies, is in their family. It might be with their spouse, or the significant other. It's where their hope lies. And so I think that's the key, is really looking at that, and starting to say, you know, let's drill down in this. And when the storms of life come,
Mm.
what are you going to hold on to? Where is your hope?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's perfect. I mean, you pretty much said exactly what this podcast will be about, and what our hope and prayers are for this podcast.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think it's important. I think one of the things too, and David and I have committed to this. One of, one of the guys that we really enjoy listening to, or was really kind of intriguing, was Bob Goff, right?
yeah.
And Bob Goff, in one of his books that he had wrote, and that was Love Does, is at the end of the book. Was it Love Does?
Yes, love does, and he decided to put his phone number, his
Yeah,
personal
he
cell phone.
put his phone number
Yeah,
at the end of the book for people to call. And you know what? And David and I are going to do the same thing too. In this podcast, we're going to give our personal phone numbers. And if you just need, encouragement, if you need maybe, hey, how do I get the hope that you have in my life? I'd love to
yeah,
sit down and just talk with you. Or maybe you're just in a hopeless situation. I would love to just talk with you, and walk with you through that. I think that's one thing about life, is that there's not enough people that want to get dirty with other people, in the sense of,
sure.
walk through the junk that other people have to walk through. We
Yeah,
just want to wave the magic wand and hope that it all just goes away, but it doesn't work that way. It's we got to be able to walk with people through it. So I know, David, I'm going to give out my personal phone number. I don't know
yeah,
about you,
absolutely.
I think you've
Absolutely.
talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even with that, uh, along with all walking alongside someone, hey, how do you find? I want the hope that you have. I mean, just being an ear to listen too, I think, is a
Yeah.
big thing. Um, I do a lot of reading, and one of the books I've read was Lost Art of Listening, and just hearing the things that this doctor has to say about it um, really opened my eyes to forming and building relationships in ways. And that's just something I just want to be that ear for somebody, because the truth is, we all just, they say, well, you can't complain because nobody's going to listen, or
Yeah.
doesn't matter if I complain or whatever. But
Yeah.
it's not complaining. This is an issue, or it's a big deal to you. It may not be a big deal to my personal life, but it's a big deal to you. So it's going to be a big deal to me.
Yeah.
And so I want to be that ear for somebody. And I'm sure you do the same, Dad.
Yeah.
Um, but also, I think going back to, something you had said uh, earlier, um, I lost my train of thought, but and I totally lost it.
No,
That's okay.
that's okay. That's all right. We can get you back on track here somehow, you know.
Yeah,
That's what your dad's here for. So
yeah, that's
fortunately, I'm not
exactly
close enough to smack you upside the head, and then it would be a different story, right?
right.
Yeah. You know, again, I think that this is a bit of passion project, a little bit. What would you say? Yeah, you
Yeah,
know, and again, it's one of those things where I just feel that timing is everything, you know, and right now we're at such a time as this, and where this is such a big deal. For those that are listening, you know, and you're going, "How this sounds intriguing," you know, it sounds like something I might be interested in, you know, it sounds like something I could
sure.
really get involved in and then start to enjoy, because, you know, I just there's so much negativity out there. Just even stories of encouragement is just a great thing to listen to, right? I mean, I know
Yeah,
that I like to hear a feel good story every now,
yeah,
almost every day. Um, you know, so, you know, I think that even just to come for the pure enjoyment of just hearing something positive and uplifting, and sometimes even hearing somebody else who's gone through something and come out the other side, you know, makes us even change our own perspective of whatever we might be going through at that given moment in time, right?
yeah, absolutely.
You know, and the title of the show is, you know, again, My Hope is Built on, and it comes from an old hymn that we used to sing in the well, it's still sung, I shouldn't say hymn, but it's sung in church, and it basically just says, you know, my hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest frame, but I wholly trust in Jesus' name. And the song is called On Christ, the Solid Rock I Stand. And ultimately, guys, that is the pivotal point and the positional point for
Yeah,
my faith. It is the foundation that I stand on. And I stand on it because it's a firm foundation. It's a steady foundation. It's an unshakable foundation. And I know that I have tried to build my hope on other things. And all those other things are not are unshakable, are shakable. They're
yeah,
not, you know, they're things that can be destroyed, you know. And I would encourage you, as you we go through these podcasts and you get to hear other people's stories and you find out where their hope lies, you know, that you kind of hear, you know, where some people's hope might be, is ask yourself some of those questions. Is that a hope that's stable? Is it a hope that's permanent? Is it a hope that can be taken away? You know, and again, because if you're going to anchor to something, you know, last thing I want to do is drop an anchor with no anchor attached to it, because it's just a chain at that point, or a rope, right?
right.
It's yeah, and so you want to make sure that it is something that you can really anchor to, that it's going to hold steady, it's going to hold strong. Because when you're in those moments, it's when you're the weakest. And when you're the weakest, it's when you require the most external strength. And that's what hope really is finding that external strength.
Yeah, that's awesome. I I thought about what I was going to say earlier, and so I want to touch back on that. But going back to the phone, putting our phone numbers in too. You know, I feel like, especially lately, um, with things going on in our world, we all want some sort of change. We all feel something needs to happen, something needs to change, and either in our country or in the world or in our own personal lives. Um, but there's a time and a place that you need to take some action in that. And I think, like you had said, having that hope, it starts with you, correct? Like that's what you were saying. It starts with you. And then you need to figure out what is the hope that you lean on. What is it going to be your driving force that you fall back on that says, no, 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 I'm going to keep on, you're going to keep on going. Again, we've said for us, it's Jesus, right? For others, that could be something else. And so I think with going back to people coming on and sharing their stories, you're going to find that maybe it wasn't Jesus for them. Maybe it was somebody else. Maybe it was their spouse. Maybe it was their parents or a close friend, a teacher. I don't know. Somebody of influence to them that they were able to lean on that helped them go forward. So I know that there's so much chaos going on and so many things going on in this world that people are that share their story. I'm sure everybody has been affected by it, but you're going to find out how can I get through it. But again, it has to start with you. So just because you hear something doesn't mean, oh, that's a good story. I want that in my own life.
Yeah.
But there's a call to action that you need to take as well in your own life. And so we want to be that encouragement as well. Not just, I don't want it to be just this other podcast where you hear a bunch of great ideas and great things. My hope and prayer is that this actually sets in your heart and makes you want to move forward and actually take that step into finding that hope.
Right. Right.
Finding that, the first step is to point it out in your life or to make it real to you. You have to point out what's happening in your life in order to move forward, to take a step.
Yeah. 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 I think, again, like you said, I think there's definitely some things that people are going to pick up from this that are just going to be really amazing. David, I don't want to, this is an intro to our podcast, so I don't want to, spill the beans and take away from everything that's going to be coming. I'm hoping that we've just help encourage you a little bit to say, hey, I'm ready to tune in and listen to some more. I will tell you this, the next two stories are going to be our individual stories. So you're going to hear from us first. And, it'll be myself. That'll be the second week in the podcast here. And then the third week is going to be David. He's going to share a little bit about his personal testimony. And then from there on, we have some guests that are going to be coming on this on as well. And you're going to get to hear from some other people. So David, is there any closing thoughts that you'd like to just share to encourage people? And then go ahead and just share out your phone number right now, if you can, when you do that.
Yeah. Well, I'm really excited for this podcast, and I'm just excited for the people to listen, to subscribe, and to just follow us along in this journey. And my phone number is 661-755-2546. That's 661-755-2546, just in case you didn't get it the first time. But I want to be here in any way that I can. Like I said, I just want to listen to you. And if I can give any sort of advice or encouragement along the way, that would be amazing. If you can't find it through the podcast.
Yeah, no, that's great.
But I want to be here for that.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think I just want to leave a little bit of a disclaimer on here. Even though we're giving you out our phone number, there may be some time you'll go to voicemail, but have no fear, we will return your phone call. Okay. Right. There is jobs that are still to be had and jobs that need to be completed. And so we can't answer every call at the time it rings, but we will, our promise to you.
Promise that I will return the phone.
We will return your phone, your message. And again, David already kind of mentioned it to you, but if you really think this is exciting, you think that this is a great little podcast, first of all, subscribe, hit the like button on here, give us some reviews, and also share this out with your friends, share it out with other people you think that just may need some encouragement. or maybe, and that are going through some tough times, but more importantly, just people that just need good encouragement every day.
Yeah.
And we also have a YouTube channel. We're going to be posting the videos of this as well. So can look at our YouTube channel. All that will be in our show notes, and we'll have that available to you there. My phone number, just so you have it, is 661-607-7558. And again, it's 661-607-7558. And like I said, I will put our phone numbers in the show notes, and you guys will have that access to that through the show notes and everything like that. So you can, again, get a hold of us, and we will, like I said, we will answer your calls. But like I said, if it goes to voicemail, don't worry. We'll get back to you. We will return your phone call.
Awesome.
David, I don't know about you, man, but I'm excited. I'm pumped. I think this is going to be really cool. I think there's a lot of exciting guests. Like I said, I already looked at our lineup that we put together, and even though these people, you listening won't know who they are, you will afterwards, and that's the cool thing. They're going to tell you something personal about themselves, and they're going to share a little bit about their hope and their journey. And I think that that's just an amazing, amazing thing. So I'm excited. So until we meet again next week on the podcast, stay strong, stay hopeful, and we love you.
Yeah. All right. See you guys.
All right.